Before we get to the actual video, real quick I want to tell you guys that my third-person action slasher game, Robo Samurai, has a Steam page now, and we'll be really glad if you wishlisted it. I've been working on it for the past 4 years, and it will help me a ton to boost it up a little bit, to reach more people that would find it interesting. That's it, thank you. In Unity, the main tool that's used to create practical in-game cutscenes is the timeline, or the playable director component. Playables, as the name suggests, are assets that can be played via the Unity's timeline to show a sequence of events. Those events are shown on multiple tracks, all responsible for different clips that get played as the cutscene progresses. The tracks that come in Unity by default are enough to get you started, but when a dev wants to create bigger and more interactive cutscenes, they need to rely on the playable track. The difference from the other tracks is that in this one, you can put custom playables that can be programmed to do anything. From triggering other scripts to follow on custom functions, this versatile tool allows any cutscene to fully flourish. So, because playable assets are so powerful, we can use them to trigger dialogues. Even before trying out the timeline, I had a pretty good dialogue system in place. The current implementation I've been using for quite a while now is this. Every clip in the playable track triggers a dialogue, of which data is stored in the playable clip itself. The clip sends out the data to the dialogue controller, which sets the timer scale to 0 and allows the dialogue UI to play out and show the appropriate dialogue. This isn't a terrible implementation, but it does result in some issues. You can only edit by slowly going into the level, selecting the object with the playable director on it, going to the timeline tab and finding the exact clip that starts the dialogue. Because of that, you cannot edit multiple dialogues at once, you can't preview without physically finding the exact one. The speakers are all stored in a string on which I could easily make a typo on, or I could make a mistake and make the spelling inconsistent. Also, spelling mistakes are very hard to spot, as the Unity's inspector doesn't have spell checks. If the project dies or the timeline gets deleted, all the dialogues in it are lost. On top of all of that, there is no option for localization if I were to do any, and also editing data and assets outside of your projects is really good practice. Now that we outlined all the issues with the current implementation, let's find a better way of storing dialogue data and passing it to the controller. This is when text assets come in. Text asset is a really simple asset type in Unity that literally just stores text. We can use them to store comma-separated values, or CSV for short, in order to store all the data that we need. In order to create CSV text files, we need to create an Excel spreadsheet that will be used to separate all the different values. Here we create two columns, one for the dialogue sentences tag and one for the English language contents of the sentence. This setup allows us to create as many columns of data as we want, to make multiple translations of the same sentence to then use in our game. The unique tags will be constructed by combining the unique level ID, the speaker's name, and the index of the dialogue that the sentence is a part of. We create a dialogue speaker enum that contains all speakers that are in the game in order to have consistent names and tags. We can use a new class called sentence entry to create an array with all the data from the CSV. The class will have the exact same amount of values as the spreadsheet had, so in our example we have a string for the sentences tag and one for the actual contents of the sentence. After the CSV is created and our script has the reference to it, we can use C#'s string split function that will create an array of strings for every row that the spreadsheet had. Once that's done, we are left with a clean sentence database that contains all the dialogues in the game. Last thing we need is a function to find any full dialogue from our database. By providing all the necessary values to construct the dialogue tag, we can search up the database to return all of the sentences from the dialogue we are looking for, to then send to the start dialogue function that will display all the sentences in order. Now back to the playable asset, we can replace the previous dialogue variable that specified all the data with the new dialogue speaker variable and the dialogue index, which will help in constructing the dialogue tag. Once the timeline gets to the playable clip, the asset sends out the two set variables to the controller, which searches up the tag in the database and displays what we just edited in the spreadsheet editor. As you can see, we can easily make changes to all the sentences. We can completely change them independent of the Unity editor, and we can also create new ones for the same dialogue. Very nice, very useful. What you just watched was an informative video about game development. If you like what you saw and want to watch more of this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing, or better yet, wishlisting my game Robo Samurai in Steam. All videos of this kind are made based on what I've learned on my 4-year journey developing this game, so if you wishlisted it, I'll be forever grateful, as it motivates me to do the thing that I love to do the most, game development. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.